ब्रज जन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर जय गोवर्धन धारी जय कुंज बिहारी
Oh my goodness, it has been settled. How could there be water? We wouldn't cut from her. Well, now there'll be water. Let's go, Ruki. Stop. Yeah, the water's back in here. Unless you found out that your watch is not waterproof. The bright side.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams.
All glories to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Guru, all glories. Gauranga. The host will give us connection. Give me host now. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being there for us. Give me host now. As our time is going. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti. Namo Sastri Bhakti Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Agya Chamandasya Gyana Gyana Salakaya Chaturjaya Tasmasya. Mukam karatu vasanam pavam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, all glories to you. So, already 10 minutes is gone. I think that maybe subsequently we are going to increase our time to 2 hours 30 minutes because we said 2 hours, but before we start, almost 20 minutes is gone every time. So we may have to subsequently increase our time to 2 hours 30 minutes so that we can cover up what we're supposed to cover every day. Hare Krishna. So having said that, we welcome all of you to today's session of the Bhakti Sastri class. Last weekend, we concluded with chapter 4. And now we're in chapter 5. Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. That's the title. So it's like Arjuna is still confused. Though he has had transcendental knowledge from Krishna, he's still confused. In 16 to 18 of the 4th chapter, Krishna glorified Jnana and spoke of action and inaction, and inaction and action. Then in text 41, Krishna glorified both Jnana and renunciation. Then in text 42, he again ordered Arjuna to fight. Therefore, chapter 5 opens with the question similar to the one Arjuna asked at the beginning of chapter 3. Which is better, work or renunciation of work. So that brings us to the first test 1. Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Puna Yogam Cha Samsasi Yakshreya Itayo Ekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishitam. Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?" Somebody should read the purport. Okay, in the absence of a reader, let me continue. So the Prabhupada explained in this purport that in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? How is work stopped if we are to still perform work in devotional service? In other words, it means that sannyasa or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity. Yes, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. Yes, how can I work? Are you telling me to work and at the same time you're telling me to renounce? So these are two opposite things. That is according to Arjuna's vision. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge of Krishna is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquired therefore whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. Okay, but the point is that it is Krishna's plan that Arjuna remains confused so that he can use the opportunity to expatiate more on the importance of acting in Krishna consciousness. So that is the basic point. Because their dialogue is actually taking place for our benefit, not Arjuna's. Arjuna's perplexity gives Krishna the chance to stress further that work and renunciation are not opposed to each other. Rather, one must learn to work in a renounced spirit. So Arjuna thinks that jnana implies the renunciation of work, and that knowledge and work, like light and darkness, are contradictory. So Krishna emphasizes, however, that no, one is knowledge, one in knowledge should also work. If you are in knowledge, you should also work, but your type of work is now different. You are working in Krishna consciousness. So there is no contradiction. You are now working in knowledge. So this is the point Krishna is trying to establish to Arjuna. Is emphasizing. But just as we said, the dialogue is taking place for the benefit of you and me, not for Arjuna. So Arjuna's further confusion is like giving opportunity for Krishna. Arjuna is giving opportunity for Krishna to talk more about the importance of acting in Krishna consciousness. You see? And that's why this particular chapter is entitled Action in Krishna consciousness. Arjuna wants Krishna to, is giving opportunity to Krishna to clarify and establish this fact very clearly for our sake. So test 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanisa, Sanyasa, Karma Yoga Cha, Nishreyasa, Skarauba, Tayos to Karma Sanyasa, Karma Yoga, Visisyate. The Blessed Lord said, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than the renunciation of work. Yes. Okay, this is the second time Krishna has directly rejected seeking perfection through dry renunciation again, and has instead recommended work. Both work and renunciation have the same goal, but of the two, detached work is better, easier, and more practical. So working in knowledge purifies our hearts and solidifies whatever realizations we attain. So it is very important that we walk in knowledge, and Krishna is establishing this more and more. Arjuna is giving him the chance, and Krishna is establishing this. That walking in knowledge purifies our hearts, and until our hearts are purified, we should not stop working. If you want to stop working abruptly without purification of heart, it is tantamount to premature renunciation, and it is dangerous. Premature renunciation without purification, it leads to degradation. So this is the point that Krishna is further established. That working in knowledge purifies our hearts and solidifies whatever realizations we attain. So the karma sannyasi is one who renounces work. That you can't prematurely renounce. So if material distress arises, he cannot take shelter of using his senses in work that will purify him. For he, as a foundational principle, he has renounced all sense of inner actions. So his choice for his senses is either mundane action or inaction. That's all. Either mundane action or inaction. That's all. There is no alternative. But Krishna is saying that you should renounce mundane action, but you should act, in spiritual knowledge. So mundane action and inaction they are not the subject matter. Renounce mundane action, but act in transcendental understanding. So Krishna is further solidifying this. I told him to bring 7. So this is the situation. Yes, this is the situation. Arjuna must work. That's he cannot. His choice for not working, is called premature renunciation. He cannot renounce work, you see, and be happy because there are things to remove from the heart. So until you are pure, don't stop work. This is what Krishna is establishing to Arjuna. That his choice for his senses is either mundane action or inaction, as his senses have no legitimate engagement. Detached work is a more practical part of renunciation. Working in renunciation strengthens one's knowledge. And that's why in Krishna consciousness, devotees are encouraged to continue to act. You should work. Don't renounce work prematurely. This is the purport of this verse. Now, verse 3.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah, premature renunciation means what? Like how we take it?
Karma sannyas. Now that you have knowledge that you are not this body, you are spirit, so Krishna is spirit, but not your God. So don't engage in mundane work. Don't work. Stop working. Stop performing your duty, because any duty you perform will bind you. Therefore, you stop working. That is renunciation. Instead, you start studying the scriptures, begin to practice yoga without working. go into yoga practice, renounce the world, go into the forest, go and do meditation. That kind of renunciation. Krishna is saying that it is better for you to do actions in Krishna consciousness than to renounce all works in the name of renunciation and going into the forest. That is premature. First, the heart must be purified. The heart must be purified by dint of your work. You should do your prescribed duty. Like a householder can take advantage of that and renounce his household. No, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, and the goal of life is to please Krishna. So all works to take care of the body is karma. It brings karma. So no work. The husband leaves the house and he goes and stays in the temple meditating, attending program every day, and he ignores his household duties. This is called premature renunciation. You see, he leaves the house and he goes to work. Prabhu has gone to the work, to temple. Prabhu has gone to temple. He cannot work because if you go to office and work for money, you'll be bound by karma. So he's no one ready to work again. So he goes to the temple, he stays there every time, chanting japa, doing devotional activities. That is even good. But still, there is demand for household responsibility. The wife and the children need food, nothing. The wife and the children, the child need to go to school, nothing. No provision. Light bill come, he doesn't care. No water in the house, he doesn't care. He has renounced, because Krishna says to renounce any kind of work to take care of the body with binding. So that is called premature renunciation. Krishna said a street sweeper is better than just a charlatan meditator, somebody who renounces his duty to go and just sit down and say he's meditating. So Krishna is emphasizing that Arjuna should do his prescribed duty and not give it up, because giving it up is tantamount to premature renunciation. That is the meaning. That you should do your duty.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, you do your duty. Initially, when we joined the movement first, the focus, the preaching was so much on renunciation, renounce. Like if you are in the world, you are like a complete kami, you are lost. So people are needed to do pioneering work, and the preaching was like that. And many devotees, they left their education, they left their parents, some leave their wives, they went to temple and lived. After some years, they went back. And to start from, they have lost a lot, all their means have gone very far, and now they have nowhere to start from. Some of them start to claim the movement. You see? They have left off something, and now they have nowhere to start from. Meanwhile, their wife and children are their responsibilities. The wife is calling, come, your children are crying, they have no food, come. So the time will become like people are coming to hide, dodging their responsibility. So we say, no, that understanding is not mature. This is what Krishna is saying here. Instead, do your prescribed duty and do your devotional service also. But you are now doing those prescribed duty without too much attachment to result. You do your duty and wait for Krishna to bless it. Whether it come out the way you like or not, you just do your duty and leave the rest for Krishna. But your duty you must do. Otherwise, you are setting bad example. Hiding, dodging responsibility in the name of religion, in the name of renunciation. Krishna said, no, don't do this, Arjuna. You should get up and do your duty. This is what is emphasized. Arjuna has understood, but for the sake of us, who will still take advantage of. There are many people like that. When things become very difficult, they just travel, leave the house, and they go hide inside some temple. Become very powerful devotees, whereas their responsibility at home is abandoned. Krishna said, no, you must do your duty until you get purified. So Arjuna is giving Krishna more opportunity to talk about this because it is very important. Very, very important. that everybody do his duty. So this is why this chapter is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna. It has been talked about in chapter 3. Now Krishna is bringing it back again to talk about it. Arjuna is bringing back the body for Krishna to talk about, because he has not clearly understood, to let us so that Krishna can get the body to explain it more to the understanding of everyone. Ambiguity. That is why. So, working in renunciation strengthens one's knowledge. If you work without understanding, you become stronger devotee. You are doing your duty at home, like Madhusneha Prabhu is doing. Then he comes to temple, he does his temple parts, he goes back to doing his household responsibility. He still have time to do his devotional service, he have time for his japa, he have time for Krishna, but he never give up his household duty. Just like how you are doing, just like Haribamsi Prabhu is doing. He never give up. If he dare give up, his daughter will hold his leg, say, Prabhu, but daddy, I need to go to school. Well, you are hiding in the temple, come out. If you drag his leg, he will come out. Come on, face it. You brought me to the world. You have a responsibility. Do it. Is that what Krishna consciousness is? If that is the case, then I will not do the devotional service. I don't want to do like as you are doing. So Haribamsi is doing his duty very seriously. At the same time, he creates time for Krishna conscious activities also. So it's a good example. So that is how Krishna wants us to do. Not to hide, go and hide inside some place and say you are renounced. It's called premature renunciation. So verse 3. Gyayasa nitya sannyasi yona dvesti nakankshati nirdvam drohi mahabaho sukam bandat pramunchati. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, Almighty and Arjuna. So Krishna is still answering Arjuna. He said, but they are both good. Renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good. But of the two, work in devotion is better. And he said that one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcome material bondage and is completely liberated, Almighty and Arjuna. So such a worker is called a Nitya Sannyasi. Nitya Sannyasi. A sannyasi is meant to achieve liberation, and one who renounces the fruits of his activities will attain it. So such detachment, feeling neither hatred nor desire for the fruits of work, is the mark of a true sannyasi. That is why in ISKCON we have the sannyasis, they are working 24 hours, strategizing how to preach, how to expand the movement, how to preach, how to reach out to people, because the people are suffering out of ignorance. And we have the solution, the knowledge to free them. So the sannyasi is always brainstorming how to reach out to people, to educate them about the actual goal of life. But if a sannyasi takes someone takes sannyasi and just renounce and take that is moving around, is not preaching at all, very soon they have a problem. So that's why even our sannyasis are practicing this. They are sannyasis, but they have a lot of work till unto the extent that they are even counseling householders. They have renounced household life. They have nothing to do with women, but now they are counselors for householders. So that is it. This is work in devotion. It is sannyas. If one is working in devotion, in proper consciousness, is a better sannyas than one who renounces work out of fear of entanglement. Someone wants to read the purpose?
One who is fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the result of his action. Such a renouncer dedicated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is the whole and that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is equal yet different in quality is correct and transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. There is no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Krishna. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities, he is liberated, even in this material world.
Carry on, carry on. Okay, that's it. Thank you. So that is it. The renunciation of a devotee is the understanding that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, the part must serve the whole. The hand must serve the whole body. When the hand refuses to serve the whole body in the name of renunciation, there will be problem. If the leg refuses to serve the whole body in the name of renunciation, there will be problem. If the eyes refuse to serve the whole body in the name of renunciation, there will be problem. So the part must serve the whole. That is perfection. And that is Krishna consciousness. This is what Krishna is trying to encourage Arjuna to do. So mature renunciation means the part functioning in harmony with the whole. So this is renunciation, proper renunciation. Otherwise, it becomes artificial renunciation, and there will be problem. So this is the point here. Verse 4, that brings us to verse 4. Sankia Yoga Prita Bala Pravadanti Napupanditaha Ekam Api Asitaha Samyak Ubaya Vindate Palam. Only the ignorant speak of Karma Yoga and devotional service as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learning say that he who applies himself well to one of these two parts of this path achieves the result of both. Get it? Somebody should read the purport. Prabhupada's both are so sweet here. Anyone reading?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The aim of Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The aim of the analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, or the super soul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then, in perfect knowledge, engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end say that the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Sankhya philosophy, analytical study of the body. This body is made of 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements, You are not these elements. You are not earth, you are not water, you are not fire, you are not air, you are not ether, you are not mind, you are not intelligence, you are not ego. You are not any of this. Then what are you? You are beyond both of these. So analytical study is to use your intelligence to do this eliminative thing until you now realize that you are not this body, but you are a spirit soul. So this is considered the part of finding the root. Finding the root. Analytical study means finding the root by eliminative thinking. No, I am not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not my mind, I'm not my intelligence. Then who am I? I am a soul. So the second part is to water the root. Having find the root, you water the root. So if you are watering the root, and if you find the root and you come upon the root, the goal is the same, is to find the root and serve the root. So the purpose of analytical study and work in division is the same. You renounce worldly activity.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Your mic is mute, so maybe if you can unmute, we can't hear anything.
Okay. This is the work of network thieves. They collect your money, you buy the data, but they constantly interrupt your actions. And this is what they are trying to do. They are trying to steal. They are thieves, daytime thieves, technological thieves. In this way, they are interrupting our flow and we walk beyond them. So we are going on. Here we are. So we are saying that one part is to find the root and the other part is to water the root. That it is actually the same. Analytical study, Sankia Yoga, is to find the root. Then Kama Yoga is to water the root. The root is Vishnu. So if one has this understanding, he knows that these two paths are leading to the same goal. Renunciation is involved in both. You renounce the fruits of your actions, then you focus on pleasing the root. And this is the process of Krishna consciousness. That you won't work with detachment or altogether, you won't renounce work. Krishna said the two are good because they lead to the same goal, or the two to work in devotion is best. This is what is Krishna, because it purifies the heart and naturally you renounce. You are working but in a detached consciousness. So Krishna's answer is clear and consistent that these are not two different paths with separate goals, but are aspects of the same. How I work and renunciation the same? If I'm holding a rock in my hand and I want to pick up my axe, I drop the rock, to free my hand. Then I can pick up the axe. Similarly, someone with material desires must first drop his material attachment before acquiring a spiritual taste. That is it. Therefore, what we need to give up is the attachment to the material things, attachment to the fruit of our work. That is what we should give up so that we can have a good taste. We can have a higher taste. To have a higher taste, you must give up a lower taste. You see? So that is why we are talking about renunciation. Renounce the fruits of your action. Renounce your attachment to the fruits of your action. But the action you must do. This is the point. However, these two steps can also be performed as one step by picking up one object. I will automatically drop the other. Karma Yoga done with detachment allows us to become materially detached and spiritually attached at the same time. Doing Karma Yoga, this Karma Yoga will make us materially detached and simultaneously spiritually attached. So by doing one activity, you get the result of both. And this subject matter will be discussed more in the next verses. So verse 2, verse 5.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, when the if the person get the, like they get the root, they what get the root that there is a Lord is there, but how they get in the devotional service? If they even they know that the Vishnu is everything. Like we are in Krishna consciousness, they always tell that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God and we have to do the devotional service to the Lord. But the Sankhya yogis, how they come in this?
When they find the root, finding the root is one thing. You have found the root. That this tree has a root. Every tree has a root. And that we are all spirit souls. This material body is active because the soul is inside. We say, okay, then Sankhya means, what is this body made of? It is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and force. The body, physical, gross, and subtle body. But I am not the earth, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am not the intelligence, I am not the. Then who am I? What am I? Then I am a soul. Then what is my relationship with the Supreme Soul? I am part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. Then he arrived at the point of what? If I'm part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, then what is my duty to the Supreme Soul? Is to serve. The past duty is to serve the world. The hand is part and parcel of the body. The hand doesn't have any separate existence. If the hand wants to be happy, it has to serve the whole body. So the analytical yogi, the Sankhya philosopher, we arrive at the conclusion that we are not these bodies, we are spirit, soul, part and parcel. Then the Karma yogi says, okay, this is true. That having realized that you are not this body but a spirit soul, then what is your relationship with the Supreme Soul? That is service. That service must be done, and that is Karma yoga. Action in Krishna consciousness. If you do actions with the consciousness of Krishna, you will not be entangled by the reaction. Instead, you will get purification of heart. The more you do this service, the more you get purification of heart, until you become a pure devotee. You attain liberation. You become a true yogi. We are going to come to that. When you attain that, your realization will change. Your vision will change. At that time, you will see not only yourself as a spirit soul, but you will see all other living entities as the spirit soul. You will see the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul. Then you begin to see the super soul in all other living entities too. Then you want to relate to the soul and the super soul, not the body again. So you come to see that the dog eater, the elephant, the Vijay Vinaya Sambandha, the Brahmana, the Shastra, all these are external designations. We are all souls beyond these designations. So as souls, we have the same duty, service to God. And these people do not know this, therefore they are suffering. I have known this. So let me take up extra sacrifice to reach out to these people who do not know. and are suffering as a result of ignorance. So you want to become a preacher. You want to sacrifice everything to make sure you enlighten Jesus. We are coming to that. Therefore, sense control is important, mind control is important, intelligence control is important. Therefore, becoming a devotee, serving Krishna is important for every soul who wants to be happy. That's where we eventually come. Then the sadhaka will attain self-realization. Your bhava changes, your kriya changes, your type of work changes. While others are going to different parties, you are coming to temple. You are coming to temple. You want to do some service to Krishna. You want to do some service to Krishna Bhaktas. So you leave, you drive all the way, you fuel your car, you come to temple, and you come and do service. And you go. Whereas somebody else has gone to drinking party because the understanding is not there and implicate himself. So this is practical. Jivara Swarupahaya, Krishna and each other. Krishna has already explained this, but Arjuna is giving him opportunity to explain this further so that everybody, even the layman, can understand that work in devotion is superior to not working. You must work, but for a higher cause. Your work is yoga. So that is how it is. Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So that's 5. I think that's where we are. And we're saying that yes, Karma Yoga done with detachment allows us to become materially detached and spiritually attached at the same time. Simultaneously, when you engage in Krishna consciousness, you become simultaneously spiritually attached and materially detached. Now, this topic will now be further discussed. So that is test 5. It's further explanation of how by just doing devotional service, one can become simultaneously spiritually attached and materially detached. Yad Sankia Pratyate Stanam Tad Yogai Apigamyate Ekam Sankyam Cha Yogam Cha Yaha Pasyati Sa Pasyati. 6. One who knows that the position reached by means of renunciation can also be attained by work in devotional service, and who therefore sees that the path of work and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. Purport. Somebody should read the purport for us. If nobody reads the purpose, I keep on talking.
The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By essential philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit's whole. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. In the first process, Sankia, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Simultaneous detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. They are the same. You cannot remain inactive. You have to act. But now you are acting in your constitutional position. And that kind of action is said to be no action because it does not attract sinful reaction. Because you are acting as part and parcel of Krishna. So the result of both is the same. Sankia means by that analysis, you become materially detached. But when you are materially detached, as a soul who is always active, you must act in your constitutional position, which is that you are part and parcel of Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Haribo?
Excuse me, at least I forget. Let me ask this question before we proceed, if you permit me.
Oh, Prabhu, you are free to.
Can I ask this question before we proceed?
Carry on, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, detachment from material, from matter, and attachment to Krishna, we are saying is the same. But if one detach himself from matter, but does not know Krishna, how can the two be the same? One can detach yourself from matter. You detach yourself from matter, but you don't know anything about Krishna, the Supreme. How can the two be the same?
Yeah, the point is that, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, if you detach from matter through this analytical process, you must know Krishna in the end. Your detachment will bring you to the point of knowledge. Knowledge comes automatically that as a spirit soul, you are part and parcel of the Supreme World. You see, your renunciation is incomplete when you don't come to that conclusion. So renunciation will bring you to that knowledge. Renunciation gives birth to knowledge. Understand? Analytical renunciation gives birth to knowledge. The knowledge that you are not you are part and parcel of Krishna. Simultaneously, automatically.
Okay.
Yes, you get. And
thank you.
Yes, and that is it. The knowledge will make you become detached from worldly involvement. But simultaneously, you become attached to devotional activities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And that is the purpose of Krishna consciousness, to create that balance for people. When they are detached, then what is the alternative engagement? The alternative engagement is engagement in Krishna consciousness. You detach from eating flesh, but you have to become attached to eating prasada. When you detach from eating boga, you must become attached to eating prasada. That's why the detachment should be done in knowledge. Knowledge factor is there. Why did you become detached from eating boga, eating flesh? Because you know the sinful implication. Then you know the benefit of taking prasada simultaneously. So Krishna consciousness is so beautiful that when you give up one activity, there is a replacement. So in the process is called param driswa nivartanti. Replacing lower engagement with higher engagement. Replacing lower taste with higher taste. That's why there are activities in Krishna consciousness. Stop dancing disco, but you can dance for Krishna. So dancing is there. But the first one was disco, was any gratification. And the second one is you are dancing for Krishna. Stop singing calming mundane songs, but you sing for Krishna. So there is no negation of activity. There is replacement of lower engagement with higher engagement. And that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. So simultaneous detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. Okay? Prabhu, you got it right.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Not
as we say, don't eat. Then you are detached from food. There's no alternative something to eat. Don't eat meat, but you can eat fruits. Don't eat boga, but you eat prasada. Don't read mundane books, but you can read spiritual books. Don't sing mundane songs, but you can sing spiritual songs. Understand? So that is the point. It is very clear for everyone, I think. Hare Krishna. Simultaneous detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna. This is maturity. Text 6. Oh, okay. Even before that, let me read some notes that are here to emphasize on the matter more. That one who sees things like that, they are true seers. That Krishna repeats his points from text 4 for emphasis and describing these two processes and how they are related. Srila Prabhupada says, the real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. That since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. The Sankia philosophical research, by Sankia philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the spirit world. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. Okay? We are not promoting inactivity, but we are promoting activity in Krishna consciousness, activity in relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his positional position. You know, when the fish is in the water, naturally it's in the conditional position. Then in the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Okay? Inactivity is not promoted. Inactivity is abhorred. That you give up lower engagement for higher engagements. Factually, both processes are the same. Although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this, see things as they are. So this verse begins Sankia Yoga. Here, Sankhya refers to Gyan and Yoga refers to Niskama Kama Yoga. Okay? When you say Sankhya in this verse now, for henceforth, Sankhya means knowledge, knowledge of your real identity. Okay? And Yoga means Niskama Kama Yoga. Krishna clearly recommends devotional service, Kama Yoga, as a better means to achieve the goal, even though both Gyan and Kama Yoga lead to, Stanam, Sanatam, the supreme eternal abode. It is important to understand that Krishna is not speaking about a variety of paths leading to a variety of inferior or superior destinations. Rather, he is describing two aspects of one path. Gyan and Kama are not two different paths. They are two aspects, two levels on the same path. Okay? Two levels on the same path of meeting in service to Krishna. So this is very, very interesting. Rather, it's describing two aspects of a path, one easy and the other difficult, with the same goal. These verses are applicable to anyone trying to attain Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan realization. But Srila Prabhupada translated yoga as devotional service to highlight Krishna or Krishna's actual desire and purpose. So if we renounce activities before our hearts are clean, we'll be forced by our unclean hearts to engage in improper activities. If we renounce work before our hearts are cleansed, we'll be forced to engage in improper activities by our unclean hearts. Okay? Therefore, the senses will demand engagement, but the Jnana Yoga process forbids sense activity unless the senses are engaged in good work. It will be difficult to stop improper work. So Krishna therefore recommends keeping the senses always engaged while simultaneously purifying the heart by working with detachment. This is more practical and therefore superior part. The compassion or the comparison between the two parts continues in the following verses. The comparison between the two parts. The comparison between these two parts continue in the next verse. Verse 6. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukam aptum ayogataha yoga yukta muni brahma na shirena adiga chati. Unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages purified by works of devotion achieve the supreme without delay. This is a big purport here. Want to read it? Some preaching application is there. See how the Mayavadis think and what that kind of thought brings to them. Can somebody read the purport?
Purport. There are two classes of sannyasis or persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasi are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which affords the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutras but use their own commentary called Sankhya Bhasya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of the Bhagavad school are engaged in the devotional service of Lord. According to Pancharatriki, Pancharatriki regulations, and therefore the Vaishnava sannyasi has multiple engagement in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasi has nothing to do with the material activities, and yet they perform various activities in their devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engage in their studies of Sankhya and Vedanta and speculations cannot relish the transcendental service of the Lord because the studies become very tedious. They sometimes become tired of Brahman speculation and thus they take shelter of the Bhagavatam without proper understanding. Consequently, their study of Srimad Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculations and impersonal interpretation by artificial means are all useless for the Mayavadi sannyasi. The Vaishnava sannyasi who are engaged in devotional service are happy in discharge of their transcendental duties and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of philanthropic and altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in the simple speculation about the Brahman and what is not Brahman. Although they too come to Krishna conscious after many births. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So which one would you like to follow, Sankhya or Bhakti?
Bhakti.
That one is very, very improvement. Yes. You study the scripture, you are locked up in a room, for instance, you are in the room just studying the scripture. You study this one, you put it down, you study this one, you put it down, you study this. No prasad. No prasad. The Mayavadi philosophers, no prasad. Yes. No pressure, no ketan. No pressure, no ketan, no puja. You are just studying scripture. You study, study, and study, and you go and lie down, you wake up and study, and no pressure, no ketan, no bhajans. No rasagula, no chapati, no puri, no sabji, no paneer sabji, no dal. So, which one would you like to follow? Yeah, we follow the one with paneer sabji and enough puris and rasgul. And this is our own. The other one is dry, very dry. After doing dry engagement for a long time, you become tired. The mind becomes tired. No activity, you fall down. No sankirtan, no harinam, no ketan, no prasad. So that one is dry. Our own is very sweet, and that is where we like to be. So before we go, the next few verses, verse 7 to 12, they describe how to practice this Niskama Kama Yoga better. But before that, let us see some of the slides, just to remind ourselves about what we have just gone through. So, who is the host now? Somebody has taken my hostism. Who is the host? Please give me back my host rights. Whoever is there as a host will give me back my rights now. Otherwise, you are delaying me. Who is the host? Bhakti Amega, Dina Bandhu Amega, are you the host? Amega, are you there? You take the hostism and you are not there. Okay, let's go on. Later we'll come back to that. You can see that the attendance is epileptic. This is due to lack of proper understanding. And all those who are involved in this, they will not go free. Yes, many students are not there. This is not how to attend a course like that, because it's a discipline. This is a sign of indiscipline. You attend today, tomorrow you don't attend, next tomorrow you attend, the next tomorrow you don't attend. This is indiscipline. The whole purpose of this course is a discipline package. So the attendance of classes is most important. Now, anybody who doesn't see this, that means he has some contamination. Some purification of heart is needed. Some purification of intelligence is needed. You don't attend spiritual courses epileptically like this. Where is Bhakti Lawson? Where is Bhakti Ramachandra? If you want to do a course and you think that you will not have the time to do it, don't do it. But to come today and not come tomorrow is an insult to those who are regularly there. Because you expect to get the same thing, do the same exam, and get the same, be treated the same way. This is an insult and disrespect to those who are coming regularly. That means those who are coming have no engagement. Is that what you are saying? And you want me to see with you that you have reason. Bhakti Lawson, Bhakti Ramachandra. Okay, Raganuga Bhakti, he has some health challenges. Then Bhakti Prince, Chi Mantra, about 5 devotees. Without any explanation as to why they are not going to be there. For the whole week, Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday, the first days you have to have class, you are not there. On Sundays, maybe you come briefly and you go back. So I'm pointing out this so that when I begin to react, people will bear witness to why my reaction is justified. I'm not a simple person like that. I know our mentality and I know what people who project this kind of attitude can do. And I'm ready to match them to any corner they are. So that is, I'm just giving a hint. I'm taking note of this And when it is time for me to react, when I react, everybody should try to see that I'm just. Hare Krishna.
Please temper your mercy with justice. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, no, there is foolish mercy. Mercy becomes foolish when it is founded on no proper respect. It becomes foolishness for both the person who is giving the so-called mercy and for the person who is trying to receive so-called mercy. Please don't talk like this anymore.
Okay.
Don't talk like this anymore.
Okay,
Instead,
Prabhu,
if you love these devotees, talk to them. Let them come to their senses. If they are not ready, they should drop out. You want to take initiation from a spiritual master, the spiritual master has recommended that you do a particular course, and this is how you are attending the course. So what about disciple are you going to become? I will withdraw my recommendation because I am among those who recommended these people I'm calling for their spiritual master. I am among those who recommended, written recommendation. So I will write back to the guru to let them know that this is the nature of the people who are coming to make disciples. So if you want to continue to make them disciples, it's left for you and them. I am not part of that because they have shown gross indiscipline and they are showing it consistently. They just want to package names like this and just get initiation and become something else. It is very clear. If I was the guru who is to initiation, I will not. I will not. Yes, I will not, because I don't want you to implicate me. There are many gurus are very, very careful taking disciples. So after many years, more than 10 years, they have 1, 2, 3 disciples. You think they are fools? Disciples who are not sincere, who are unserious, they cause a lot of problems to the guru. After taking the initiation, after pretending and taking the initiation, they begin to abandon all the vows and they begin to do whatever they like, increasing the burden of the guru. This is wickedness. And this is what these people want to do. They want to take initiation. The spiritual master is clever and he recommends that do this particular course because you have to be disciplined before you take initiation. Initiation is not a joke. Then they have come. Apparently they are there, but in actuality they are not there. So that the sense of deception, that attitude of deception continues with them. So after taking initiation, what do you expect from them? They become very whimsical. Now they all want to, they are already masters after initiation. You cannot instruct them, you tell them something, they argue with the guru. As to why what they want to do is better than what the guru is telling them to do. But with that attitude, you cannot go anywhere. So this is a gross demonstration of indiscipline. On the part of those prospective, tell them, this is what I want you to tell them, Bhakti Omega. Tell them that this is what I'm saying. And I'm very serious about it. Immediately after this class, I will communicate with their guru that this is what they have been doing consistently. And I'm taking note of that. And at the end, they might not get their certificates at all. They either drop out now, because I will not be part of those who will give certificates to people who are not fit, who are not disciplined, according to the course standard. I know what I'm talking about. If it decides to continue to go ahead to initiate it, then the whole universe will bear witness that I'm not part of it. So tell them that this is what I say. I'm very, very strong about it. And I mean it. I mean it. Because the same attitude they will extend to the guru they want to take initiation from. And I am part of those who recommend them for that initiation. I will not be part of that. I will withdraw my recommendation immediately after this. Unless they drastically change their attitude. They have done this again and again for the whole unit. 6 chapters out of 18. You have done this. So what's the guarantee that you are not going to do this during the other chapters? Then in the end, you will pass for somebody who has done practice as you. And I'm involved. I will not be involved. So let us go on. Let us go on. That chapter 7 to 12 will describe practical Niskama Kama Yoga. Number 7. Yoga Yukto Visuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurban Apina Lipyate. Translation. One who walks in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a person or such a man is never entered. Purpose. Somebody should read the purpose.
Hare Krishna. One who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to everyone, every living being. And every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches, or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is sure, he is pure in Krishna in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there's no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. Nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics related to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. And he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only specifically offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield will continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only the addresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you heard it all very clearly, that when one waters the root of the plant, automatically the leaves and the branches and twigs are nourished. Therefore, when one acts in Krishna consciousness, it becomes dear to everyone. Yes, and it becomes a friend of all living. So 3 qualities are expected for one who wants to become a yoga yukta. Our endeavor as devotees, as sadhakas, we are trying to become yoga yuktas. A yoga yukta is Vijitatma. Yoga yukta Visuddhatma is Visuddhatma. Vijitatma, Jitendriya is Jitendriya. A yoga yukta is Visuddhatma, Vijitatma, and Jitendriya. 3 qualities. And we are expected to acquire this as people who are practicing proper Niskama Yoga or actually Krishna consciousness. A yoga yukta is Visuddhatma, is Vijitatma, and is Jitendriya. His mind and senses are controlled, his intelligence is purified, and he knows that he's a spirit soul. So these qualities, we have to imbibe them. They have to manifest in us. A Yoga Yukta is Vegetatma, Visuddhatma, and is Jitendriya. His senses are controlled, his mind and intelligence are purified, and is a soul. He knows that it's a spirit soul. So, and as such, you know that when its activities are dovetailed to pleasing Krishna, every other person is automatically pleased. So the pure devotees are friendly to all living entities. They have no enemy, they are equally disposed to all. And they try to give, what they have as souls, pure souls. That is their own. Senses are controlled, their minds and intelligence are purified. They know that Krishna is supreme. So these are the qualities that in this purpose, La Prabhupada paraphrased, which described the 212, which described the individuality of the soul. That La Prabhupada does this because Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, compassion to all souls, has been taken by Mayavadis to mean that a soul becomes the soul of all souls, or the soul becomes the soul of all living entities. Clearly, Krishna is not saying that. Instead, he uses the words Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma to refer to the compassion of a devotee with 3 symptoms of advancement, which Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur defined as Visuddhatma, a soul with purified intelligence; Vegetatma, one who is self-controlled; and a Jitendriya, one who has conquered the senses. To become a pure soul, to become a Yoga Yukta, these 3 qualities must be there. You must be Visuddhatma, Vegetatma, and Jitendriya. 3 qualities. If these qualities are not found in you, then you are not such a soul who has attained that level of purity. So you are not friendly to all living entities. So please listen to these qualities again. Visuddhatma, a soul with purified intelligence; Vegetatma, one who is self-controlled; and Jitendriya, one who has conquered his senses. A person who possesses these 3 qualities has not become one with everyone, as the Mayavadi says, but he feels that everyone is dear to him. That is the difference. We are not Mayavadis. How can everyone be dear to Arjuna as he stands on the battlefield ready to kill his enemies? Srila Prabhupada writes, Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the 2nd chapter, all the assembled persons of the battlefield will continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only the addresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna knowledge. So as a person is never entangled in the reaction of this world. In the next verses, Krishna described the Jitendriya, the renounced sense-controlled worker, as he goes about his duty. So verses 8 to 9. Naiva kenshis karomiti yukto mayeto tatvavit pasyan srivan prisam jigran asan gacham swapam swasam pralapan visrijam grinam unmisan nimisan api indriyan indriyartesu Vatanta itidaraya. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects. Beautiful. Pop out. Somebody should read. Pop out. Pop out.
Hare Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence, and consequently, he has nothing to do with any work. We depend upon the 5 immediate and remote causes: the doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification, but in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in affairs of the senses. Activities such as seeing and hearing are actions of the senses meant for receiving knowledge, whereas moving, speaking, evacuating, etc. are actions of the senses meant for work. A Krishna conscious person is never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we are expected to become Krishna conscious persons like this. And these persons are technically called Jitendriya. Yes, Jitendriya. A devotee is expected to become a Jitendriya, self-controlled, sense-controlled worker, the renounced sense-controlled worker, such that even though he's engaging in all activities apparently being engaged by other people, he's never entangled. So this is the beauty of becoming Krishna, properly Krishna conscious, a Jitendriya. So you are all invited to become Jitendriyas, so that when you are acting, your actions do not attract sinful reactions. You can be eating, seeing, breathing, talking, and doing everything, but you only do things according to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, your actions do not attract sinful reactions. So this is a very beautiful platform we are expected to arrive at. Okay. So Krishna now describes how transcendental knowledge that we are not our bodies should be expressed through our work. Yes. This knowledge allows us to remain aloof from the body as we work. Aloof from the body. Periscope verse. We are our bodies acting, but we have no interest in the fruits of our actions. As Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura explains that the Niskama Kami, even while eating with his body, senses and so on, is a Tattvavit. Yes, he realizes the self is separate from his body. Does the work of such a detached person result in any simple reaction? That is the next best. The work of a Tattvavit, when one is working as a Tattvavit, who is truly Jitendriya, whose senses are controlled, the renounced sense control worker, does his actions attract any simple reaction? This is the next verse. We are all expected to become Tattvavit like this. Our actions attract any reactions if we become pure devotees. Verse 10. Brahmani Adaya Karmani Sangam Tyakwa Karotiya Lipyatina Sapapina Padma Patram Ibambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful reactions, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. If you are walking like that, if you are a Jitendriya, and sinful reactions do not touch you. You are like a lotus flower which is in the water, but is not touched by the water. You are in the world, but not of the world. Therefore, your actions do not produce sinful reaction. And this is where we are expected to arrive at. Very beautiful, isn't it? A beautiful platform. Pop out! Somebody, we cannot avoid to meet these pop-outs, as they are so beautiful and so loaded for anyone who cares. Pop out, please.
Here, Brahmani means in Krishna consciousness. The material world is some total manifestation of three modes of material nature, technically called Pradhan. The Vedic hymns Sarvam He Itat Brahma. Okay, I am not reading this. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is manifestation of Brahman, and although the effects are differently manifested, they are non-different from the cause. In the Ishamnishad, it is said that everything is related to Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the result of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body being a gift of Lord for carrying out particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. The Lord also says in the Gita 3.30, Mai Sarvani Karmani Sannyasas. Resign all works unto me, Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of material body and the senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So somebody who is working in that consciousness, his actions do not attract any sinful reaction, just as a lotus leaf is in the water but is not touched by it. Okay?
But Prabhuji, if we are in Krishna consciousness, what is the meaning of sinful activities?
If you are in Krishna consciousness, there is no meaning to sinful activity now. Provided you are in Krishna consciousness, you are a Jitendriya. You are a renounced, self-controlled worker. So there is no question of sinful reaction, sinful life for you. But you have to be in Krishna consciousness. That is all.
And
individually.
in previous chapter, sorry Prabhuji, but that they are saying the pure devotees, like how we will become pure devotees? Like still we have so many things, anger and attachment, like with the children, and we have to think of them. How will be in pure devotional?
This is what we are saying. You are in pure devotional service when Krishna is the center of your activities, even as a householder. This is what we are saying.
Yeah, but still we are having anger, and like we want this for us, like that things.
Yeah, you are still in pure devotional service. Your anger is not just some selfish anger. if your anger is to make things straight in Krishna consciousness, for instance, as a mother, you chastise your children, you correct them. You are trying to correct, don't do this. If you do, because as a mother, you are protecting Krishna, see your children as Krishna's properties. And you are now trying to give them the best so that they can remain Krishna conscious. You will not want them to hurt their body.
Sometimes we get angry on Prabhuji also. He is in devotional service, then also.
Yes, the anger, if the purpose of the anger is to make correction, to make things work better for them or for those who are dependent on you, it is not considered anger. Was it not Hanuman that burned down Lanka? Hanuman was, if you are not hungry, how can you go and set fire? That Hanuman is worshipped tomorrow because it is not selfishly motivated. It is service. You employ anger in the service of the Lord. So if you engage your dependents, you are angrily chastise them, trying to correct them, you are not actually angry. You are only correcting them for a higher purpose. So the intention is what is being looked at. As householders, we have to do many practical things. But if you go sentimental and you're unable to correct them, thinking that you are very loving to them, then that becomes something else. You should do your duty without attachment to the result. Therefore, you can charge if shouting is needed to correct somebody to bring him on track. You do it. You are not attached to it that you are shouting or you are exhibiting anger. You are trying to employ whatever energy at your disposal to put it straight for Krishna consciousness.
But Prabhuji, the front person feel offense, then how we'll do that? That we are insulting them, or if the person is feeling that I am insulting them or something like that, what we will do? Then we should stop, or
you will not stop. You do your duty and without being attached to the results.
okay.
Definitely, when somebody is doing something and you try to stop the person, if the person is attached to the thing, he will feel that you are interrupting his sense enjoyment. But you will not, you are acting for a bigger cause, for a higher purpose. So you do your part. Whether the person feels that you are interrupting him, yes. For what purpose? For a higher purpose. You are not interrupting the person. For instance, you see your child is watching some kind of movie with the phone, and you as a mother, you know that this is not good for you, and you are accessing it. You stop the person from, you can shout. You are only doing your duty. If the person doesn't take after that, go and say hi, you have done your own duty. So without attachment to the results, but do your duty. Do the correction there. And let the higher beings take over from there. You have done your own duty. If you feel upset that this person has interrupted my sanctification, okay, that's all right, but I have done my duty. You see? Later they will come to realize that if you overpet, you pet them and not able to tell them the truth out of sentiment in the future, and they become completely spoiled, then you have not done your duty. Then you get reaction for not doing your duty. So duty, as I said, the intricacies of action are very difficult, to understand. The one who is able to see action in inaction and inaction in action is a true seer. And for such a person, he can eventually become a yoga yukta. And when you become a yoga yukta, you are automatically a Vishuddhatma, and a Jitendriya. And the Jitendriya is this: it's acting, but it's not entangled by the reaction, because it's acting in knowledge without any selfish motive for a higher cause, for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. That means action is yoga. Therefore, we should be trained to act in this way. This is what Krishna wants us to do. Rather than renouncing our action, that if I do this, somebody will be angered, somebody will become offended. Therefore, I will not do my duty.
But
No,
Prabhuji,
Krishna said, do your duty.
yeah, but to keep peace in the our family, is it not good?
To keep peace.
Yes.
What
Without saying it.
what
If you say
what
everything again, then they get angry and quarrel. Then is it not good to stop saying anything or like that?
no, you examine yourself to see whether how you said what you said was wrong. Understand?
Okay.
And you work on that. But your intention is that you desire good for everyone. Therefore, you said what you said. But if how you said what you said has angered somebody, then you devise another way, a more pleasant way of saying it next time. But what you have to say, you should say. Come out, Lord. Otherwise, you get implicated for not doing your own duty.
Okay.
Devise a better means to say it. So it is not what you say, but how you said it. You can work on that. Go down there. But what you should do without compromise. And even if you make mistake along the line, trying to do what you're supposed to do, Krishna will forgive. The higher beings will all forgive. And more so when you are constantly thinking of how to do it better. So we are there. Okay, no compromise. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
There you go. Okay. Yes, verse 10, that wants to be situated in knowledge and then do one's duty with detachment. Such a person will perceive the body's action, it works, it touches, it moves, it does so many things, but it thinks, I do nothing. I am a soul and I am aloof. With this realization, one can perform his duty without attachment and then surrender all the results to Krishna. Thus, work remains free. Thus, work remains free from sinful reactions, just as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Lotus leaves have a waxy surface, and water immediately glides off them. In the same way, reactions glides off. One performing Niskama Yoga, reactions glides off. Just like we pour the water, but it doesn't enter. The question can be related or raised. If someone is detached from work because he knows that he is a spiritual and not his body, what is his purpose in working? What is his purpose in working? So let us see the next verse, verse 11. Kayana manasa budya kevalai indraye api yogina karma kurvanti sangam chiatwat masudaye. The yogis, abandoning attachments, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. But before I go on, I will beg the host to give me my host back. Bhakti Omega. Bhakti Dinabandu Omega, are you there?
Yeah, Prabhu, I'm here. A bit noisy place, so I'm still here, I'm here.
But you are the host now. I am supposed to be the host. You are depriving me from sharing what I'm supposed to share. Give me my own host back, please.
Prabhu, I'm not the one who is Mother Savamai.
Find
I'm
out.
not the one who is Mother Savamai.
Find out who is the host.
I am the host. I
I'm
don't
thinking
know.
it's you.
Mother. It's Mother. No, it's not me, Prabhu.
I better give me my host back.
Okay, 1 minute. I don't know how to do.
Sorry,
Let me
Prabhu.
call Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji. Sanmadu,
Okay.
હું હોસ્ટ છું તો કાઢી નાખો તું જરા. આમાં હું હોસ્ટ છું તો કાઢી નાખો. હું કે તો હોસ્ટ થઈ ગઈ. કાઢી નાખો તો.
Okay. So
one minute, Prabhuji. I'm just.
Hare Krishna. So we'll continue now. Somebody should read the purpose.
When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the
Which
satisfaction of
purpose
the
are you
senses,
reading? Which purpose are you reading?
it's not 11, Prabhu.
Huh?
It's not 11. 11.
Okay.
It's not 11. Purport.
Yes,
The
supposed to be
purport of
11. Yes.
11, yes. It
Carry
says
on.
when one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sad achara, can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 187 described this as follows. Ihayasya harye dasye karmane manasa gira nikilasu api avastasu jiva mukta sa ukiyate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person, even within the material world. Although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities, he has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is in this material body, or that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not this body and that his body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, and words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within his possession, to Krishna's service, is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So Kevalia
Hare
or
Krishna.
Kaivalya. Thank you. Kaivalya comes from the root Kevala, which in this verse.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Prabhu. Prabhuji.
You want to say something? Say.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Say what you want to say, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Krishna's to
Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna, we are hearing you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
I'll finish my reading.
Yes, I've
I'm done.
heard you. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu,
Oh,
I'm done with my
Krishna's to
reading.
Bhagavan's fire. Oh, Krishna's to Bhagavan. Hare Krishna. That means you are not hearing me now. It seems you are not hearing me.
I can hear you.
Ah.
I can hear you, please.
I've been talking since. Nobody was hearing me. I don't know. See network again, maybe. Maybe
Hare
it's
Krishna,
network.
Prabhuji. He
Hare
can
Krishna.
hear you. He can go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying that Kevalia comes from the root Kevala, which in this verse is defined as purified. that one becomes purified by his detached work. That Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur explains that although one's mind may sometimes be distracted while making offerings of oblations such as Indra Swaha, still such a person's senses are Kabbalah, acting for purification of the Atma or for the sake of purifying the mind. And Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan also explained this verse as follows: that citing the behavior of a saintly person as evidence, Krishna elaborates on the previous verse with this verse beginning with Kayena. Yogis carry out work that has to be executed with the body, mind, senses, and so on, without any false identification of the self with the body and so on. That Kevala means fully purified or Visuddha. No, in the first beginning with abandoning attachment, the words for the purpose of purification of the self mean for the sake of giving up one's false identification with the body as self, which one has maintained since time immemorial. That's La Prabhupada writes, this is perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. That yes, it is true that the false ego is also produced of the body, mind, intelligence within his possession to Krishna's service. Is at once dovetailed with Krishna, that is one with Krishna and is devoid of false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. That yes, for one who is just a yogi, who is practicing Kevala Bhakti, his purification is automatic. That even though externally people may think that a Krishna conscious person is also doing the same activities that other people are doing, it is not true, because it's acting in purified consciousness. His consciousness is purified. You can see the pure devotees, they eat, they chant, they dance, they do everything, they look. Sometimes they even get angry. They get angry and shout and chastise someone very heavily. All such actions are not to be considered actions based on false ego, because they are already purified and they are seen, according to the direction of Krishna, and they are employing all their energies in trying to please Krishna. So even the apparent anger or screaming of a pure devotee should not be interpreted as based on false ego. Understand? It is actually true ego, because they are acting for Krishna's pleasure. Their ultimate intention is for the purpose of satisfying Krishna. So they are not selfishly motivated in any way at any time. So this is the meaning of this. These are the yogis. They are called proper yogis. That the yogis, abandoning attachments, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So, Vishuddha. Verse 12. We are going to stop at verse 12 here today, but let us finish verse 12. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva santin apnoti naistikim ayukta karma karina paleshaptunim bhagyati. That the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of his activities to me. Whereas the person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. That this is summary of the previous 5 verses. Okay? Then the next 4 verses answer the question Krishna already discussed in the 3rd and 4th chapter, namely, who is the doer? The living entity, the material nature of Krishna as Paramatma. Then in the first of these 3-4 verses, Krishna described the Jivatma's role, the role of the. So by that, we are going to go into tomorrow. And that is from verse 13. But for now, this particular verse 12, is like the summary of the previous few verses we have done. So let's read the purport, then we show the slides and we conclude. purpose. The difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the result of his activities. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person and is not anxious for fruitful rewards. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being due to one functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. All that exists is a product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and have no material effects. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. One who is, however, entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness realization, that there is no existence besides Krishna as the platform of peace and fearlessness. There is no existence beyond Krishna as the platform of peace and fearlessness. So let's see what is on board in the summary. This is actually against like this. The first 6 verses dealt with Karma Yoga, how Karma Yoga is equal to but easier than renouncing of work. Then verses 7 to 12, where we have just ended, how to perform Karma Yoga. Then the next one will be relationship between the soul, super soul, and nature. And finally, this verse is containing only 29 verses. This chapter is only 29 verses. So we talk about liberation through focusing one's consciousness on the super soul as the final part of it. Then here, let's go to the thematic that what makes Arjuna confused again, because Krishna has already explained this subject matter before. That in the second chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglements in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by Bhakti Yoga or devotional service was also explained there. In the third chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duty to perform. And in the fourth chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminates in knowledge. However, at the end of the fourth chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work and devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has his determination. Therefore, which one is better? Improving the standard of bodily comfort, that as long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate, to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. So what is advised? One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. That as long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitful results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. That renunciation when these things are okay. Renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge. that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. Once you understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone, then there is the question, then where is the question of renunciation? You know, this is the last verse of this chapter. One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This is perfect understanding. That which one is better? The aim of analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. That the soul of material world is Vishnu or the super soul. That devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the roots of the tree, and the other is to water the root. That the real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. So you can see the watering of the root taking place. On one side here is Sankhya, and on the other side is devotional service. The Sankhya is to find the root, and the process of devotional service is to water the root. And how this is done is explained in the Krishna consciousness movement. That attachment and detachment. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see these sees things as they are. Therefore, we come to this Karma Yoga action in Krishna consciousness, how to perform Karma Yoga. It is given here. We are advised to do Niskama, Karma Yoga, Niskama, Karma Yoga. That one who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to his Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of anything, any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of the tree are not separate from. The leaves and the branches are valuable as long as they are attached to the tree. So this is how it sees. A true seer sees the leaves and the branches together. They don't see anything as separate from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore everything should be related to Krishna. This is Niskama Karma Yoga. That such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna. He knows very well that by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. That because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant of all, is very dear to everyone. Very dear to everyone. So this is the process. Prabhupada is showing it. Krishna consciousness does not mean you renounce eating, as the Mayavadis think. There is prasad. The Mayavadis study the scripture and study scripture, no prasad. But for the devotees, there is prasad. And they send the prasad to the stomach, and the stomach distributes the food, the energy from the food to all parts of the body. That is how it is done. That's even one's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination. A gift of the Lord, this material body. So we should not see the body as just some bad bargain look. We can engage it, seeing it as a gift of the Lord. That when he applies everything produced on the body, mind, intelligence, wealth, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within the disposition to Krishna service, is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body. etc. This is the perfect Krishna consciousness. Dovetail. You can see this. These two boxes are different colors, but there is a fixing there. The brown one and the white one. There is a place where the white one fits in exactly into the brown one. So if you are not careful, you will not see the difference. This is the meaning of dovetailing. This is like the tail of a dove. When you dovetail everything, when you channel everything to please Krishna, it's like this thing that fits this white portion that fits exactly into the brown portion. And that is the life of a pure devotee. And therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and have no material effect. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. But one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness realization, that there is no existence beside Krishna. It's a platform of perfect Krishna consciousness. Thereby, one who is involved in profit calculation cannot have that. So, but a devotee had it. So, this is where we stop for today. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. His co-founder Acharya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank
See you tomorrow by 10 o'clock. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Madhusneha Prabhu, Savamai Gopi, and Bhakta Amiga Dinabang. And who was the other person that was there? Ashwini Kumara Prabhu. So, thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Hare Krishna. You may go now. Hare Krishna. Bhakti Sastri students can go so that you can leave the platform for the Bhakti Bible students. Hare Krishna. Kamalash Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, all glory to you, Gurudev.
Babaji,
All businesses.
all glory to you.
All glory to you.
All glory to you, Kamalash. Hare Krishna. So we are on it. Kamalash
All glory
Prabhu.
to you, Prabhu.
Yeah, there is
Yes,
this,
Prabhu.
teacher training program that is coming on. That we want to know the number of
When?
students who are teacher training very soon. As soon as we get together from next week, we are starting. So will you come on board? Hare Krishna. Kamalaji. Hey, network down. G Kamalaj. G Kamalaj, your network is bad again.
Okay.
The network is bad. Your network. Aswini Kumara, you can leave. Oh. Okay. 9:30. We finish our own. But Ivory Coast Maharaj will come on board by 10 o'clock. I will leave it so that I want to be there at the beginning to see your attendance. I don't know whether I should go back first or maybe your teeth is shaking? Shaking again? Why? Which one? Maybe one. It's shaking serious. Oh, I'm going to be related. Look at the one that I'm going to see.